Good day, everyone. How are you all doing? Hope you're all doing fantastic and feeling groovy. Realizing that the government really doesn't love you. And also realizing that everything you've been told since the day you were born is indeed a lie. It is August the 6th of 2025, 3:30 p.m. Mr. Buzz coming to you from the communist shithole known as Ontario, Canada. If you get anything out of this video, all I ask is a thumbs up. Hope you enjoy the video. It's so hot out there today that I'd love to be outside because it's beautiful out, but man, I almost melted walking to the store. It's absolutely brutal. So wherever you are, I hope you're staying cool, keeping it real. So let's talk about separation of church and state. Should there be separation of church and state? There was a time when I definitely would have answered yes to that question. I would have said, keep the two completely separate. I have no problem with the church, but I don't want it in the government. That's what I would have said. Well, we can see where that's getting us. That results in a totally godless society, a totally moralless society, very, very bad policies, very, very bad. I mean, this is why we have the assisted suicide program. This is why they're going to offer suicide to people with mental illness. If there was no separation of church and state, that wouldn't be happening. Children would not be undergoing mutilating surgeries, like cutting things off of them when they're under 18. If it was still a Christian nation like it should be, that wouldn't be going on. There's all kinds of things wouldn't be going on. In the United States, it's in their constitution that the rights people have to life, liberty, I forget how it's worded now, but these are inalienable rights given to you by God. In other words, no human can step on them. God gave you these rights. They're yours no matter what. And anyone who gets in the way of that is going against the Lord. And he'll deal with them when the time comes. So this is why I do believe in church and state meshing together, because our freedom would be guaranteed and very well protected. But because we live in, and I'm talking Canada here now, because we live in a totally godless society here, our freedom is in big danger. Our government doesn't believe in a God, and if they do, they don't believe in the right one, that's for sure. Our Prime Minister actually said in a speech lately that Muslim values are Canadian values. Really? Which ones do you mean? The ones where you make women cover their faces up and all that sticks out is their little eyeballs? Do you mean how they're allowed to beat their wives? Do you mean their absolute hatred towards all gay and trans people and stuff like that? Which ones are Canadian values? So church and state being together can be a bad thing if you're talking Islam, because Islam is a totalitarian, oppressive religion, misogynistic religion. It treats women terribly. Women are the second-class citizens in that religion. So I don't know how Mr. Carney thinks Muslim values are Canadian values. Have you read the Quran, dude? I haven't read the whole thing, but I've had people help me understand what's in there. People who could read it. And no, those values in that book are not Canadian values whatsoever. They're anti-Canadian, every one of them. They're anti-human. They are not about freedom and the things that Canadians care about. But if this was a Christian nation, women would be treated equal. They would not be made to cover their faces and all that. Men are still not allowed to beat them. Literally, a Muslim man is allowed to beat his wife. It's even described in the Quran how he's to do it. And she is supposed to be grateful to him for beating her and correcting her issues, whatever they might be. I mean, I'm not making this up. This is true. So all the lefties who are rah-rah for Islam, you might want to get a translation of the Quran and see what it actually says in there. Because everything that the left apparently stands for, Islam is on another page altogether compared to you guys, compared to the left. So let's hope there's always a separation of that church and state. But I know we're working towards there not being one. That's the one that's creeping in. People are so scared of fundamentalist Christianity, like evangelical Christianity, which some of that does get a little intense. They get, some of them even believe in polygamy and different things. Okay, that's not proper for me. But just good old-fashioned regular Christianity or Catholicism, that's going to promote freedom in a society. That's going to promote human rights, equality, and morality. We're not going to be offering suicide to mentally ill people or telling war veterans that can't afford rent anymore and they're on the street, well, don't worry, we can always just offer you this suicide program. You can just die instead. These are the results of the separation of church and state. I want Canada to return to being a Christian nation like it used to be. But I don't think it ever will. That's the only thing that can save the states, because the communists are attacking that the same way, trying to do the same thing to it. Actually more aggressively over there than in Canada, because the states has to fall before everything else can follow suit. So now I'm a big believer in running a Christian nation. No separation of church and state. Christianity doesn't have any really oppressive rules in it. It's about free will, the free will that the Lord gave you. It's about respecting women, treating them equal, no violence. I mean, Islam itself is a violent religion. There's all kinds of violent teachings in that book. Christianity tells you to turn the other cheek and definitely not be violent. You're supposed to love your enemies and the whole bit. I mean, I don't know how everybody construes this so backwards. Christianity is a religion of peace and morality. And we're going to need a little bit of that in our government, because there's none. There's none. We've lost all morality in the government. They're just thieves and bandits. That's what they are. And unless we return to being a Christian nation, base policies on God and the teachings of Jesus, then we'd be fine, and everybody be free. Everything would be good. We would even still welcome the Muslims to do their thing here, but they would not be able to impose Sharia law. They would not be able to set up their little areas where it's Muslims only and they control everything, and they go by their own laws in that, within that perimeter and stuff. No, they wouldn't be able to do that because it's a Christian nation. If you don't like that, you're going to have to find another one to live in. Not saying you have to be a Christian, but you can't impose your religion on the whole place just because you feel like it. Right? This is why I've changed my mind 100%. I'm not saying there shouldn't be like a secular, there should be a kind of a secular view to a degree, but you can't just completely disregard Christianity in policymaking, or it turns out like we got now. Children being mutilated, mentally ill people able to get government-assisted suicide, just terrible, terrible policies. 50-year-old men allowed to shower with teen girls in their change rooms, and really crazy, immoral, disgusting stuff. You would not be able to do that if this was still a Christian nation. We got away from that, and now we got a godless, terrible society. No morals, no decency, nothing. Nothing. Pride Week, or Pride Month, I should say. There's literally men out there totally naked with their schlongs flopping around in front of kids. Unreal. That's what happens with separation of church and state. That's what happens. And I just found out recently that our Prime Minister, well, his daughter is a trans person, a trans activist. Big time. And he encourages it. So he encourages, I think she might have even been through some surgery. Right? It's just unbelievable. This is our Prime Minister. This is a leader of the country. And this is what he's got going on in his own family. Yeah, it's time to go back to being a Christian nation, folks. That is my final opinion on that. Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. And please leave me a comment and tell me if you believe there should be a separation of church and state, or do you believe you're better off as a Christian nation? Let me know. Thanks for watching. Remember that Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life.